Hello everyone. So in this module we are going to read the poem An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. The first half of the poem was covered in the previous module. Now in this module we are going to cover the doubts or the queries that children sent me and the second half of the poem which was left yesterday. So children, now before moving on to the explanation part, I would like to address the queries which were sent to me. Mostly the problems that occurred or the doubts that occurred were there in stanza 2. Let's check the second stanza once more. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, belt flowery, Tyrolese valley, open-handed map awarding the world its word. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map their world, where all their future is painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. So now the phrases which are marked in red or underlined, they were the doubts to children. So now let's check the first phrase, open-handed map. Now open-handed map is referring to the generous view that this word map which is hung on the wall of the classroom is providing to the students. Now generous view refers to that world full of opportunities and privileges. So that map which is hung there on the wall of the slum classroom, that map is showing them a world where there is beautiful Tyrolese valley which is full of flowers. There are tall buildings which have covered the entire city, and the sky is cloudless, means clear and bright. So this generous view, why it is said that it is a generous view that is being provided to the children of slum? Because for children of slum, this view is beyond their reach. They can't, there is no accessibility for them to this world. Now the next phrase is awarding the world its word. Now here children, there are two words which have been referred in this line. Awarding means providing. So one word refers to the word of poor or marginalized people, means the children of slum, and the second word refers to the word of rich people. Now here the poet says that this map which is hung there on the wall, it is providing the word. The word is the word of poor children, the children of slum. It is providing this word, the people of this word, the word of rich people. It is promising them a word which is actually beyond their reach, where they can't reach, which they can't enjoy. And then the next phrase, it says all their future is painted with a fog. Now this refers to the future of these slum children, which is bleak, which is dark, which is there is no hope till the time the children are there in this slum. So there is no hope in their life, and they are supposed to, or they are doomed to remain in that slum or in this foggy slum. I hope this explanation will help you in understanding the second stanza. Now children, let's move on to the explanation part. Let's read the third stanza. The poet says, surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. For lives that slyly turn in their crammed holes, from fog to endless night, on their slag heap these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass, like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum. So blot their map with slums as big as doom. Now we'll check glossary first. Wicked means evil, tempted, persuaded or allured, slyly revolving around, crammed, confined or very narrow, slag, waste, mended, repaired, blot, to mark with a spot, doom, disaster. Let's check the literary devices which are used here. You can see this alliteration In surely Shakespeare, repetition of S, tempting them from fog and their time. Then simile is there, so blot their maps with slums as big as Doom. So slum is being compared to Doom, and the word of comparison as is being used here in this line. So they simile, like bottle bits on stones. And now something is being compared to the bottle bits on stones, the pieces of bottle on stones. Okay, and the word of comparison like is being used, so there is simile again. Their homes are very small, like holes, like cramped holes. Sorry. Okay, so for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes. So there is again the home of these children or the slum people is being compared to cramped holes, to narrow holes, but there is no word of comparison used, so there is metaphor figure of speech in this line. Now let's check the explanation of the third stanza. The tone of the poem changes from despair to rebellion in this stanza. Shakespeare, the poet says that Shakespeare is a bad example. Why a bad example? Because Shakespeare is an example of refined culture and knowledge, and that is why he is called wicked. And map is also a bad example. Why map is a bad example? Because it is showing them a world which is beyond the reach of these children. Then the poet again says, the picture of ships, sun and lake, this beautiful image of the world created for these poor children, it might mislead them with sights of a world which is beyond their reach. Moreover, by providing them a glimpse of the unattainable, they allure the children to resort to ways that might instigate them to commit crimes or steal. Poet feels that it is not only irresponsible but also an immoral act to paint pretty pictures of a perfect place to children who live in suffocating hutments. They move from one endless night to another without any dawn of hope. Now, endless night is referring to hopelessness children. The children are so malnourished that they appear to be wearing skins on their bone. They wear spectacles of steel and made of mended glass. Their poverty shapes the lens with which they perceive the world, and all they can actually see is the foggy sight of the awful slums they live in. As these slums are getting bigger, they'll destroy the future of these children, and it is very difficult for such kids to escape from them. Now children, let's move to the next stanza. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs break open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves open, history theirs, whose language is the sun. Let's check the glossary. Catacombs refers to tomb or cemetery. Azure refers to deep blue, which is referring to blue sky. Literary devices, they simile used in the line, their windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Again, windows are compared to catacombs, to tomb or cemetery, and like word of comparison is being used here, so this is simile figure of speech. Alliteration, till they, repetition of tt, the town, again repetition of tt, their tongues, again repetition. Then there is repetition, break or break. Now the word break is being repeated twice, which is actually or rather thrice in this line. Break or break open till they break the town. So it's been repeated thrice to emphasize that how important it is to bring these children out of this slum. Okay, and that is why it should be broken down. Let's check the explanation part, children. Now this final stanza of the poem, it turns into an appeal to change the conditions of the children. So you can see here that the poet makes an appeal from the government, inspector and the visitor. Why he makes an appeal from these people? Because these are the people who are in power, and they have got all the resources, and they are the authorities who can make some or bring some change in the life of these children. And he makes this appeal to gather the political view, to convert the map of theoretical knowledge to the window of lived reality for the children. So why is he making this appeal? Because he wants these people to convert this theoretical knowledge, something which they are teaching them with the help of that map, or which they are teaching them there in the book only, okay, which is mere theory for these children, because neither that word is accessible to them nor they can reach there. Okay, so the poet wants these authorities to make these things come true in their life, to make these things real for these children. And the word map becomes their only window to the outside world. And why he says so? Because he wants that word map only to become their window, not that window which opens there in the slum. But such windows do not allow them the access to look within. Catacombs are underground passageways. The poet compares the inaccessibility of the windows to being lost or trapped in such an underground maze of passages. The poet also implores the figures of authority and the readers to break down the walls and shackles that hold back these children and show them green fields of the world beyond. So poet wants the children to be brought out there in the nature. The poet invokes images of golden sands of a beach under a blue sky facing out to an open blue sea. The poet requests the figures of authority to allow these children to explore the world not only through the white leaves of a book but also the green leaves of nature. The poet ends with a powerful evocative declaration. He states that the people who shall live with the same energy and vigor as the sun will be the ones to become great and rise above others and create history. So when poet says that the people who can live like sun, so what sun does? It not only shines bright, but it gives light to others also. So history belongs to only those people, or only those people are remembered in history who not only work for themselves but also work for the welfare of others. He hopes that with the right kind of support and encouragement, the slum children will rise to the greatness. So in the end, in the final stanza, the poet is not only making an appeal to these people, but is also hopeful that if action can be taken by the authorities, then definitely the change can be brought in the life of these slum children. Now children, let's check the theme of the poem. The central idea of the poem deals with the paradox of teaching elementary school children in a slum. The poet believes that you cannot hope to provide education to children who are poor and hungry. A feeling of hopelessness coupled with the actual lack of a bright future, symbolized by the words fog and foggy slum, suggests that the purpose of educating these children has been defeated. Poverty, hunger, hopelessness, and the fact that they are cut off from the mainstream is expressed in the words a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky and catacombs. The poet believes that the only solution is to break down the slum and let the children run free on gold sands, and to let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves. What it means is that it is only after the policy makers have addressed the problem of poverty, malnourishment, and inherited diseases, then only we can hope to provide an education that is empowering in the true sense. Now children, that's it for the day. I hope you must have understood the poem. In case of any queries, send it to me. Thank you. Okay children, so let's have a quick recap of the entire poem. The first point is the children in the slum are far from availing the opportunities and privileges. They are rather like rootless weeds, frail, vulnerable, and malnourished. The second point says the sight of the children in the classroom is a miserable one. A tall girl burdened with poverty, a boy with physical disabilities. There is another young boy, though with some hope, but darkness of the slum seems enveloping him. The third stanza, it shows The description of the dingy classroom, the walls neglected like the students, pale off white, donations hung on the classroom walls, setting a complete contrast and highlighting the misery of the obscure fate of these children. Next stanza says, the part of the donations are alluring these children to commit some crime to achieve that promising world and leading them to even bigger misery. The last stanza, it is making an appeal to the people in power, asking them to bring these children out of the slum and make them learn not only from book but nature also, so that the education which is only there in the books becomes reality and children of slum can relate to it. I hope, children, you would have understood the entire poem. Now let's come to the assignment part. These are the questions given here. The questions are based on the poem that you have just read. In case of any queries, send it to me. I'll be addressing it in the next module. Take care of yourself. Follow the guidelines of COVID-19 and stay safe. Thank you.